you let me love you forever, forever? I wanna love you. Will you let me love you forever, forever and a day, 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 day.
Hey.
Hello. Y'all, today's the Mondayest of Mondays of Mondays. I could not get my act together all day today, but I am grateful to be here. I'm your host, Lida Entry, with my co-host, April Holloway, Abby the Attorney. Guys, we are switching it up a little bit. I'm going to let April go ahead and explain to you where you can stream and follow her other YouTube page because, you know, she's an influencer now.
So hey Raydella, we're moving over for me to my personal YouTube. I've been using my business YouTube before this, and I think it's stalling growth because personally I'm a lot more fun than I am on my business page. So over here you can hang out with me. I go to festivals, I go to museums. You can see what my Saturdays are like in DC because I like to do a little Saturday in DC vlog. And it's just a lot more fun. This is a chiller vibe that I think that we'll have a lot more fun putting the 90-day stuff on. So come hang out with me here.
What
Abby
is
the Attorney. It's at Abby Winters 80 on TikTok and YouTube. And this is where I'm fun.
I mean, you guys, no comment. Abby Winters 80. Make sure you're following that YouTube page now as well, because that's where we'll be co-streaming from. Oh, hello from Newfoundland.
Hello.
Trina,
Is that the part of Canada where they speak French?
We speak French throughout Canada, but Newfoundland has a very special accent that I was trying to recreate. Trina, don't laugh at me. But hello from Newfoundland.
Trina, sometimes I'm Canadian too. Depends on where I'm traveling in the world.
She absolutely is not. We've had that discussion many a time. Don't let her trick you. Hey, Lori. Hey, Rodella. You guys, we have caught up. We thought we were so behind on 90 Day The Last Resort. We're actually caught up with it. So today we are covering the new season of 90 Day Fiancé, season 11. We are doing episode 1 and 2. And next week we'll be caught up on 3 and 4. Episodes are called I Love You, ... and Love at First Sight. Some couples we're familiar with. Some couples are new. I mean, TLC has like enthralled us so much that like we have thruples now. Is this Seeking Sister Wives? I'm not sure, but it's all like fantastic and great TV. So it's not great. Quite LOL, good try. Listen, I don't know what's going on, but I'll tell you something. First of all, I do speak French. I think I told you guys this maybe I didn't tell you guys this, but I was booking a flight with Air Canada. My Air Canada travel consultant was a Quebecois, Trina. So I was practicing my français, and she was disgusted with my inflections, and she kept correcting me and finally said that I needed to download Duolingo and work on my inflections. I died of laughter.
Did you ask her for this?
No, but you know what? That is very Canadian. We're very direct, very nice about it. Like, we both laughed, right? Because she could understand me, but she was like, if you want to like speak proper French, your inflections have to be correct. Which it's true. I'm rusty. Second of all, we talked about how Parisian French and Canadian French, the Parisians think our French is very like the ghetto version of French. And so that was the whole thing. So now, do I have a little bit of a stigma? Yes. Is it going to stop me? Never!
Well, I'm glad it doesn't stop you, because if somebody stopped me like that when I was learning Spanish, it would have hurt my feelings. They did sometimes just switch to English, and I was like, dang, am I so bad that you just want to do English instead. But then somebody told me, no, they're trying to practice too.
Yeah, it was a whole thing. But I loved her. I wanted to meet her in real life because she was cracking me up. Hey, Joslo. So we're just gonna jump in. 90
Yes.
Day Fiance, the new season. There are 6 couples. 3 or 4 of them we don't know. 2 of them we know for sure. And we'll get right into it. So first from Wyoming, and you guys, I don't know like how y'all pick where you live in America, and no shade to Torrington, Wyoming, but like if you're gonna smell like poop all year long, it just couldn't be for me. We're meeting Jessica, Juan, which we know Juan and Jessica from last season, but we're really getting to know them personally a little bit more with Dawson, David, and Dayton, her 3 sons. One of them being a 5-month-old that she just had with Juan. And they're in Torrington. It smells like poop, they said. They're used to it. So am I calling you April or Abby?
It's fine. Abby's fine. April's fine.
Right.
I know it's hard to switch. Whatever
Hey,
you want.
you.
Hey, you. Whatever you want's fine. So listen, I have a defense of Jessica because my college town where I went to undergrad is an agricultural school. Like most 1890 land grants, most HBCUs are agricultural schools because that's how they were started. And it smells like poop, and you do get used to it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, and I guess I've never experienced it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments or the replay. Yeah, I no. You guys already know I'm already squeamish, so like that couldn't be somewhere where I lived. I couldn't live in Torrington, Wyoming.
Honestly, it disappears so fast.
It disappears because you're used to smelling it. Because
Yeah,
she was even
and also, yeah, depending on the weather, it's colder out in that part of Maryland, so it doesn't smell as bad. I mean, like, I'm not going to force you to do it. I'm just saying when she says the smell, you get used to it really quickly. You do. Jessica, I got your back on that. Now, there's some other things I will not have your back on.
Jocelyn said, "Are you fragile, Linda?" Yes, I am. Yes, I am fragile. I am fragile. Listen, I'm African, so I am used to like third world, all the things. I am Canadian, so I'm used to fresh air, cleanliness, recycling, clean. And yes, I am fragile. I am fragile because I could smell the poop through the screen and I was not appreciative. And when her little friend jumped on a pile of poop, no, that was not for me. So I absolutely am fragile. That was funny. Jocelyn, you got a little bit of sense of humor. I like it. I like it. So, yes, I am very girly girl. Hence, Linda is so girly in the name title, Joslo. No, thank you. No, thank you. Like, that's why I couldn't, like, anyways, I couldn't be in any job where it was like, blood, gush, and God. Like, I couldn't do it because I probably would pass out. I can't do it, you guys. I'm sorry. I get grossed out really easy. So, that being said, Juan is coming from Cali, Colombia. They met on a cruise, if you guys remember. She had recently been divorced. The ex-husband was on the same cruise. She thought, hey, we're just all going to go with the other couple that they booked it with. She went to the casino with her friends. Juan was the bartender. They flirted with each other. By March of 2020, they were like together. If you guys remember, there was a pandemic back in 2020. So they got time to get to know each other because no one was going anywhere. So they were like FaceTiming, video timing the whole time. She went to see him 9 months later when the world opened up a little bit and Colombia opened up. She spent some time there. She went back 5 times, you guys. On the 5th trip, he proposed to her. She came home, found out she's pregnant, and boom, boom, boom. A few months later, David was born via FaceTime with Juan. She ended up going back to Colombia two months later. So her baby, David, was 2 months, and Juan got to be introduced to his son. What do you think of all of that so far?
I remember her story from before.
Hmm.
I'm gonna hold judgment on how they met. What do I know?
Listen, her and the Matt, when we get to Matt and Amani, I don't know. Like maybe again, I'm fragile, but like you don't know someone after a week, and when you're on vacation, you meet vacation person. I think it's interesting that they got engaged without him ever coming to where she lives and seeing how
Mhm.
she lives and meeting her children for the first time because she has a bunch of babies. Um, I just think you meet the representative, and I've said this to you. This is not anything new. I am same
Yeah.
person. You're meeting the
Well, he
representative.
yeah. Well, he wouldn't have been able to come. I don't think that he would have been able to get a visitor's visa because I mean, I know that the ships don't really sometimes they pay a lot depending on what your currency is, but for Colombia, he probably doesn't make enough money to qualify.
I
Um,
just don't think it's a good idea to be in vacay mode, meet someone, spend 7 days with them, and then get engaged. And now
I
we're going to be
agree.
married in
I
90
agree.
days because
I agree.
you're still in the honeymoon phase. You don't know that person. You've never seen them outside of a vacation environment. I just don't think you're setting yourself up for success. And that's just me. And y'all, I'm not married. And, even though I'm what do you call it? A sofa backseat therapist. Uh, uh, I'm just
I'm
saying,
not
like,
gonna tell you what that phrase is supposed to be.
am I way off? Why are you laughing?
I think it's just couch therapist.
Oh, Trina understands me because she's from Canada. She knows
Yeah.
what I mean.
Okay, Trina.
She didn't
This
say she
situation
understood
is
me.
just a lot
It's a
happening at
lot.
one time
I don't know how they're
because
doing it.
not only is he moving to a new place, which is very different from where he's from, she also mentioned that he's probably the only Colombian in the area, which is a question that I feel like I would have asked. Like, am I going to be the only spot in your community? And he's moving into a house with all of these children, plus his own new child, figuring out how to be a stepfather and a biological father at the same time, and like how to navigate that. This is just a lot at one time, and I was confused that she was able to go and visit him in Colombia so many times, but there was nobody to babysit the kids for a night.
I don't know. I mean, Joslo saying, my concern is why is every girl getting pregnant when they go on these shows? What is wrong with young girls nowadays? They don't believe in birth control. Hey Renee, hey go hey. Yeah, I mean, and I get that they've gone. She's brought the kids to Columbia. What I'm saying, Joslo and April, is that you still need to see people in their own environments. You don't see them in their own environments. You don't know how they actually because they're on vacation mode. That's my personal opinion. So here we are. So Juan's coming to live with them in a few days. And what was funny, and I think it's funny because a lot of men say this, he's like, I'm going to be your babysitter soon. And she's like, no, you're going to be their dad.
Right.
And
I love that.
I think it's funny because a lot of men say that. They're like, hey, I'm babysitting my kids. No, you're taking care of your kids.
Hmm. I
You're
love
not
that
the
she corrected
babysitter.
that.
Hmm. So she's concerned that excuse me, their real life is going to start and he doesn't really understand what that looks like. They showed a scene where it was school days. It was hectic. She has 3 boys. She's a mental health counselor, which I actually don't think I knew. And she's got to get the boys ready for school. She's got her get her baby ready. She's got to get herself ready for work. So it's very hectic. Throw in Juan. And you guys, if you remember, he's leaving his country. He's leaving his life. He's going to come to America. He's not going to be able to work until he has his green card / permanent resident card. So she's going to be sole provider. So this Mr. A babysitter is probably going to take on a bigger role in babysitting his own children. for the first little while because he's not going to be able to make money. Now, I don't know what marketable skills he has because, he's been on a cruise ship, but what is that going to translate to in Torrington, Wyoming? And what type of job is he going to be able to get to sustain himself and for other people? April?
That's the other thing I was thinking about when they were riding through that main road in town. I'm like, even once he has his work permit, it's still going to be difficult for him to find a job. Or maybe he'll start his own business. Who knows? Like the Haitians up in Ohio. But Renee asked a question. Do you want to answer this now, or we can do it later? It's a good question.
What's the question? The remember how?
Yeah.
Okay, you go for it.
All right, Renee, remember how much flack Emily received for wanting a night alone with Kobe? I will take this one. And I did give Emily flack for that. And the reason why is because Kobe had never met his baby before. So he was looking forward to meeting his baby. And she arrived at the airport without having ever warned him that it's just going to be me because I want a night alone with you. So I'm thinking, how do you feel if you're Kobe on that flight all the way from Cameroon? I think it was Cameroon. All the way on that flight from Cameroon, thinking that you're going to meet your baby for the first time. And she's like, no, I wanted a night alone with you. And then she starts berating him over dinner about how much money he has. That's the reason I gave Emily flack in that situation. But here, Juan has met the baby before, and she doesn't have a door at home. So she could have made, and she's very affectionate. Okay. If you want all that, ma'am, arrange a night alone. But everything else, Jessica, I got your back on everything else.
I have no comment on this. I think I have no I don't want to go on a tangent, but I do think that not coming to her place and for whatever reason he couldn't get a visa or whatever the reason, I just think that it's not setting them up for success because now he's never been around kids. Now he's not only a full-time dad, a full-time stepdad, living in a country he's never been to, in weather and smells that he's not used to. He's now going to have to get a job and settle down. And I just don't think he's setting himself up for success at all.
Even for a regular American to be doing all this in your 20s is a lot.
It's a lot. Jocelyn says, what's the closest big city to them? Didn't she tell us? Denver.
Yeah, which was several hours away.
3 hours away. So Denver is the closest big city to Torrington, Wyoming, according to her on this episode. So that's where we are. The only wrong Emily did was not tell him. Okay. So she meets up with her friends, Megan and Amanda, one who's a counselor just like her, and one's like the assistant or whatever. And they're talking about his past indiscretions. What did you think about this? And the fact that he's arriving in winter, it's like going to be like -10 Fahrenheit for you Canadians out there watching. It's American Fahrenheit. He's never been in that weather. He's never been to this part of America, if in America in general. They're curious of what he's going to be able to do for work. And, after 8 months being engaged, there was that lady who reached out to Jessica, said they hooked up. He says that he never hooked up with her. He denied it, if you guys remember. What are your thoughts on all of that, April?
I don't think that you should be going through with the K visa process if you still have concerns about that. I think that needs to be settled, washed, and dusted. In my opinion, it shouldn't be I want to wait till he gets here to talk about it situation. I don't really understand that. That's a lot of investment in time and changes for not just yourself, but for your kids too, to 100%. Wait to find out how you feel about it.
100%. Again, not setting yourself up for success, you guys. You have the secret or ill will or feelings or something that you have not communicated and you're keeping it inside until when you blow up, until the person's already there. The person has already not been in this type of situation, not been in this type of environment. You guys, I want you to be successful in your relationships, and you have to set yourself up for success. And a lot of that has to do with communication. A lot of that has to do with realizing what your situation truly is and being open and honest about it so that your partner can make wise decisions for themselves. All right, that being said, we are moving on to Matt and Amani out of San Diego. Matt's 36, Amani's 30. They have 2 kids, Lila and Sarah. They met in college. She likes him because he makes her laugh. She balances him out, he says. She calls herself a babe boss, with boss babe energy. She grew up in Tanzania, which, automatically made me think of Ziad. But she left Tanzania at 18. She works in tech. What was interesting to me is that, what does Matt do? I still haven't found out. Do any of you guys know what Matt does? Because I feel like he might be a stay-at-home dad.
I did not hear him talk about his profession.
At all.
No, all we heard was he makes her laugh. But I didn't get the impression that he was a stay-at-home dad. I got the impression that they were both like hands-on parents. Like he could be a stay-at-home dad, but I didn't get that impression.
My vibe is he's a stay-at-home dad.
You think so?
When the guy doesn't talk about his profession, and then all I see was him like come up the stairs with the kids, and she was like hard at work on her computer. I was like, oh. I mean, they look like they're living their life. Like their house was huge. I don't know if you guys know San Diego. San Diego market is like crazy expensive. So, I mean, I don't know. Anyways,
I don't see her personality being with someone who was okay with being a stay-at-home dad. There's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home dad if you want to, but I don't see her personality being someone who wants that.
I mean, we'll see. Why didn't you tell us?
Yeah.
Why did we find out what she does and not him, April?
I think the reason why is because they're giving us her immigration history slyly. She says, I left my country, which I think was Tunisia. I wrote down Tunisia.
What did I say?
Tanzania.
It's Tunisia.
All right. She said she left her country at 18 and came to the US. And so what I took from them giving us her profession is they're letting us know that she probably came on an H-1B visa. Or she came in on an F1 and went to school here and then got a job.
Explain what that is to the viewers that are new here.
So let's say she came in on a F1, I'm sorry. A F1 is a student visa because she said she left home at 18. So if she came to the US on a student visa and then studied in the, information technology, risk management, tech area, it would make sense that she went on from a student visa to an H-1B or maybe an EB-2, either one of those, either a job petitioning for you or a self-petition because you have such high skill into tech, into now working into tech. That would make sense as her path to citizenship. So that's what I took from them telling us.
Oh, hi, Tanya. Hey, girl, hey. Hey, Shakira. Hey, girl, hey. There you go. April, the attorney, with all of the immigration advice, which I just love about this. I love you guys supporting the show. You guys make sure to like and subscribe. We've also switched over April to her personal page. Abby, what is it? Abby 80?
Abigail Winters 80 at Abigail Winters 80.
Abigail Winters 80. Make sure you're subscribing over there as well.
Yes, come hang out with me. Have fun with me.
Anyways, they're saying that they're opposites, and it's taken them a long time to appreciate their differences. And I thought that was a really telling thing to say. I think that they have a lot of communication in their relationship, and I think that they would have to because of all the things that they're allowing into the relationship. They play dress up, all of that. And we find out that they have a girlfriend. And I'm going to pop this up here because it's just like, Lord, am I watching Seek and Sister Wives? I don't know. So it's now Matt, Amani, and Annie. They are considering themselves a throuple. They feel like they've been in a long-term relationship with this lady. Amani recognizes, no, she identifies as bisexual. And for a long time, Matt felt vulnerable that he wasn't fulfilling her needs, and therefore that's why she wanted to open up their marriage. But the word of the day, communicated and talked about what it would take to live this type of lifestyle. And he was open to it, I guess, because now they've been dating Annie for a year. What are your thoughts on this, April? Because I know you know a little, not that you know a little bit more about this, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. They come off to me as a couple who has truly done a lot of introspection on what makes them happy and how they can assure each other. And so I can see that they would have successful relationships with other people and still stay with each other. And they've chosen to have not necessarily an open marriage, they've chosen to have another partner they are monogamous with. They have a three-way monogamy. They're not having multiple partners come in and out of their relationship. That would be an open marriage. They have a three-way monogamy situation where they three have agreed to be with each other together.
Three-way monogamy. That's
Yeah.
interesting definition. So, because monogamy, three-way monogamy. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that because that doesn't make sense to me. It's like
Maybe
the
that's
Dodge.
not. I don't
It's
want
like
to. I
the
just.
Dodge Ram, right?
But
Like they're opposing theories, but we just
well,
accept.
they're not a open relationship, and they're not a
They call
ethical
themselves
non-monogamy.
polyamorous.
Yeah, polyamory would be the better word. So yeah, and would be their, polycule. So I get it. And they come. We'll see, how it develops. But first impressions were they have spent a lot of time really being honest with themselves and with each other.
Joslo says, I saw something that showed them on another show trying to make money or something, and they said he was a stay-at-home dad. I told you,
Oh,
I can smell out.
you spelled it.
Yes.
What
you
other
guys.
show were they on, Jocelyn?
I can smell out a stay-at-home anyone in a heartbeat.
There is a show that is specifically for couples that are looking to explore being in alternative types of relationships. And I didn't look it up, but I thought maybe I recognized them. Okay, no, that should not answer it. I thought maybe I recognized them from that show. I'll look it up later.
San Diego to Tijuana is nothing, you guys. It's nothing. Like you can get to LA to Tijuana in a couple of hours. So San Diego is even closer. So I would say it was like an hour and a half away if I had to bet on it.
Aren't there people who live in Tijuana and work in San Diego?
100%. 100%. So they want to bring Annie to live in the U.S. They have to get divorced, apply for the K-1 visa to bring her to the U.S. Now, they're going to go in a couple of days to Mexico to see her to make sure that that's the decision that they should be making. April, here's my question to you because you guys, ethical open relationship. Oh, Lord. You guys are killing me with all this politically correct stuff. April, here are my questions and concerns. More concerns than anything. Because I already know where the answers to my questions, but it's really more concerns. And my concern is this. We find out that Annie has 3 kids in Mexico, you guys. 3 kids. We already know that Matt and Amani have 2 kids. They want to bring Annie over to America. They're going to get divorced in order to do this. How? So what does that look like for work for Annie, April, in the U.S., and for her 3 children? Are they going to bring the 3 children over as well so that all 100 of them live at the house? What does that look like for custody-wise, for immigration-wise? You're on deck.
There's so many concerns here. There's so many legal concerns. The first one is, We don't know if the three children have the same father. And if they don't, are all the fathers going to consent to the children moving to the United States? If they all do consent and she wants to bring them, then we're going to blend all of these families together. Um, that's going to be difficult when they haven't met each other. I understand that the main couple has met two of her children, but she has not met any of either of their children. Okay, so now I'm getting in the weeds. Let's get back to the immigration part of it. They can get divorced and have one of them do the K-1 petition for Annie and then go on to get her residency. During that time when they are divorced, if I was the divorce attorney for let's say him, for example, right? He's a stay-at-home dad. Once he gets divorced from her, he has no legal protection um, in the event something happens to her tragic, right? If she passes away, there's no spousal protection during that time. If she decides not to get married back to him, get divorced from Annie and get married back to him, is there a prenuptial? Is there a postnuptial? And how do we avoid having to pay out whatever California obligations are just because you're getting divorced for the purpose of petitioning for another person, not because it's a plan for you to actually separate your lives and your assets? What kind of parenting plan are we going to put in place if we're still planning on living in the same house? Because California is still going to require you to go through a real divorce. You can't just say, hey, we're just doing this thing on paper for you guys.
Okay, so I'm still not very clear. So they decide to get divorced, right? What would be more beneficial, for her to marry Annie or for him to marry Annie?
I mean, Mexico allows same-sex marriage as well, so there wouldn't be any issues of facing some prejudice at the consular office for the interview. And right now, the U.S. still allows same-sex marriage, so either one of them can. I don't see any particular advantage or disadvantage of which one files the petition for her. It might be a little bit easier for him to do it because she hasn't lived her life out as a lesbian. And so there might be a little bit more question of why she's doing it, but legally, either one of them can do it. It's not a problem.
Okay, so let's say Matt ends up marrying Annie, which to me is crazy. Amani, you're stuck out there. You have, like April just said, you have no protections for you and your children now. So then Annie wants to bring her 3 kids over. Let's just, for the purpose of this conversation, say she has 2 baby daddies. Will she be able to sponsor her children to come to America?
So they could all come at the same time. We don't ever see people bring their kids, but they can. They can do a F1 for themselves and an F2 for their kids and all arrive at the same time.
So why did Larissa and Jasmine and why do they never bring their kids with them then?
So Jasmine, from her perspective, she wanted to get settled before she brought her kids. And then when she got here, she learned that Gino actually never put her children on the application. Larissa, I don't remember that far back. Did Colt have, the first thought I had was, did Colt have the income to be able to sponsor her and her kids at the same time?
Yeah,
I don't think he did.
He had a good job back then. He was like something in tech. He had a good job back then. Not talking about present day, but back when we met him, he was pretty self-sufficient.
Okay. Yeah, they all have the option to F2 and bring their child with them.
Interesting. I want to talk about, someone said something that Tanya says what we just talked about. Annie has children. Are they coming with her? This seems really confusing and concerning for so many young children involved. And then Jasa said, why get a divorce then? Why can't they just come up every other weekend? Which I think is a really good point. Why get divorced when Tijuana is so close to San Diego, April?
We have heard them going back and forth to Tijuana, but we have not heard of Annie coming up. Is that right? I don't remember hearing of
That's
Annie coming
correct.
up.
That's
Okay,
correct.
so that indicates to me that she doesn't have a visa to come.
So shouldn't they spend their time and energy on getting her a visa and allowing her to come back and forth, just like how people, like you said earlier, live in Tijuana and work in San Diego? Couldn't it be that type of situation? That way, no one has to get divorced, and they still have the opportunity to have this throuple relationship that they want.
Well, two things. Number one, it's actually really hard to get a visitor's visa. And I'll come back in a second. The second thing is, it sounds like they want to live together. A visitor's visa doesn't lead to you being able to live together, it doesn't lead to residency. So if they want residency, they have to go a route that allows residency. But let's go back to the first one. In order to get a visitor's visa, you have to be able to prove that you have sufficient ties to your home country that you're not going to overstay. So that's going to include having a long-term employment. It's going to include showing bank account statements that you have a certain amount of income every month. And it can't be somebody just loaned you money to put into your account. They want to see transactions coming in and out of several statements. You're going to have to show that you own property. You have to show that you have interests that are going to bring you back to your home country. If your only interest is, I have this couple that I've been seeing and I want to go visit them, that is going to be the fastest denial in the history of a visitor's visa application.
That's unfortunate, because I feel like that might be a better option for them, instead of like, hey, I'm getting divorced. There are multiple kids, or like 5 kids involved in the situation. I don't know. Again, set yourself up for success. I don't know what that looks like, because I personally could never be in a throuple, but here we are. So they're going to Mexico in a few days to see her. Again, my question in my note says, so how does that work for the US? Because yeah, they're going down there, but they want to be in this I think it's
Yeah.
messy. You guys,
So the last thing I forgot to say was that the US doesn't allow polygamy, which is being legally married to multiple people at the same time, but they do not care about polyamory. They don't care about polyamory. They don't care about spouses cheating on each other. Those things are just out of their concern. They just want one legal marriage. So yeah, it's not fraud. There've been so many people. Tanya said it smells like fraud. There have been so many people who try to get their immigrant spouse's visa canceled or get their residency revoked because of cheating. And they'll allege, oh, because this person cheated on me, then it obviously was a fraudulent marriage, right? And USCIS is always consistently like, unless you can show us that this person has said, we are entering this marriage for the purpose of being with somebody else, we're entering this marriage for nefarious purposes, they don't care.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like this situation seems a little bit messy, and again, yeah, you guys have been dating long distance for like a year, but like, are you guys really taking into consideration? Yes, you communicate about what you two want as a couple, but are you communicating what's best for your children and her children? I'm not sure those conversations have been had yet, so I'm a little wary on what's happening here.
Yeah.
I'm a little wary, to be honest, on Amani. I think Amani, often, okay, this is going to sound terrible, but I'm going to say it anyways. Oftentimes when some of these women say they're bisexual, they're just lesbian, but they want to fit into a traditional society, American society, and be accepted, and that being married with children, and they accomplish those things, and then they really are tapping into who they really are, and want to not disrupt their family life, but also incorporate what their deep desires are. And that's the vibe I'm getting. And if you even look at the photo, you guys, right? And we even, as we introduce Kelly and Eric, who are Matt and Amani's friend, who we meet on the boat ride, if you look at this photo, you see it's more about Amani and Annie. And I took a sneak peek into episode 3, and it's Amani and Annie who get into like this like spat over being in a serious relationship. as well as Eric is concerned about Matt's well-being. And is he really doing this because this is something he's interested in, or is he doing it to make his wife happy? He literally said that. And I thought about it, and I think it's more the latter than the former. And if you remember from the very beginning, Matt's like, he was worried that he wasn't fulfilling Amani. He felt vulnerable, but I do think it might have to do with her really being a lesbian, not bisexual. That's it. That's what. That's it.
Could be.
So they want to bring Annie to the U.S. They'll need to get divorced on paper. They tell their friends, Kelly and Eric, about it, and both of the friends are shocked, especially Kelly, because she was there when they met Annie, and they thought it was just going to be like a casual fling. She's also concerned that they spend so much money on her, and what does that look like? What is this woman's intentions? Eric's concerned about Matt's well-being, and they're all concerned about jealousy issues, which again not only comes up in monogamous relationships where there are two people, but now you put in a third person and you're going to have to get divorced and there are children involved. Jealousy is definitely going to be an issue. So will you have to be open and honest and communicative 100%? Do I think this throuple is set up for success? Here's a second couple that I just don't think is a couple. Here is a second, I can't even say couple. Here's a second group of people that I still have not set up their situationship for success. What are your thoughts, April?
I mean, I think they've done well in their conversations in the past. I think they'll be fine and they'll have more conversations in the future. They don't have to get divorced and married within 90 days. My understanding is they have not even submitted the K visa application. So they're going
hold
down.
On a second.
Yeah.
April, the attorney, is answering a question in Black Chat. The question is, how are they going to get divorced and married within 90 days? Go ahead. Attorney.
So they don't have to get divorced and married within 90 days. What they're doing now is having a visit to decide how they want to proceed. And then if that visit goes well, it sounds like to me, they'll make a decision on getting divorced and then having one of them file a fiance visa, which is called the K visa, for Annie. Now, once Annie arrives in the United States on that K visa, they still have to remain married in order for her to obtain her residency and remove her conditions, because remember, she has to go from a 2-year residency to the 10-year residency. So it will be a process. I would estimate, if somebody came to me and this is what they told me they wanted to do, I would say you need to plan to be married to your throuple partner for at least 5 years. So that was what I would tell them as an immigration attorney. And then if I was a divorce attorney or a family law attorney with respect to the main couple, I would say that's how long you're going to be unprotected from any benefits you would get from your spouse if something happens to them during that time.
So then technically, I guess what also I think Tanya is asking, so then this is not really a true 90-day fiance couple.
No, it's not.
So they're not bringing her over on a K-1 visa immediately and getting married in that 90 days because they haven't filed for the K-1 visa, because they can't file for a fiancé visa until they get divorced, and divorce takes time. And I know that California as a state is a 50-50 like support state. So everything is 50-50. So they're going to have to work all of that stuff out. Divorces don't just happen overnight. That's why I'm saying, are they setting themselves up for success? Because this is not happening, Tanya, in 90 days. They're going to have to separate their assets. And if you guys looked at their house, it looks like they have a lot of assets. And even though they're saying we're only getting divorced on paper, even though Matt is like, I don't care if I'm called a boyfriend or a husband. Yes, you do, Matt. You do, or you wouldn't have said that. But I digress. All of that needs to happen first before they even file, April, if I'm correct, for the K-1 visa.
It all has to happen first. People don't think about the little things that matter in the meantime sometimes, unfortunately. Like, imagine you're in a car accident and you just need to be the next of kin for that person. Well, during this time that you're making this decision, you are not automatically legally the next of kin. You're not spouses anymore.
It's wild. I
You know?
listen, y'all. I can never be in a throuple. I can never be in a polyamorous relationship. I've told you guys that many a time. And what I'm not about to do, since I haven't found my husband yet, when I find my husband, what we're not about to do is get divorced for some convenient situation. It's not happening. It's not happening. Future husband, it's not happening. Don't come with me with nonsense, because no, thank you. Oh, Tanya says
Yeah.
to April, thank you for clarifying. So they really should be before the 90 days.
They would more appropriately be a before the 90 days couple, but we have 3 couples in this season who aren't traditional 90-day fiance couples.
Y'all are hilarious in the live chat. I can't even keep up with y'all. Joslo, I'm looking at you, sis. I'm looking at you. Tanya says she's the wife, girlfriend, and Matt is the third wheel. Those are facts. We're moving on because we're covering 2 episodes today. So we're going to talk about Sarper, and I've been saying her name wrong for a year, but it's Shekinah.
Shekinah.
I've been saying Shekna and literally, I've been saying that for over a year. And when I was like actually listening, I was like, oh, and I still said it wrong. Shekinah. My bad. Now listen, you guys, I don't know what happened. I don't know if I fell over and bumped my head, but I'm a Sarper fan now. I don't know. He's like completely grown on me. I love the fact that he's family oriented. I love the fact that he's a little bit emotional with his feelings. I love the fact that he can recognize that he has a narcissistic personality, but can recognize it and move forward with it. I don't know what happened, April.
Yeah, I found him delightful these 2 episodes, and I thought he was overbearing before. I think what happened for me is I got to watch Shekinah actually speak up for herself and have space given to her thoughts and feelings eventually, and she didn't back down. So that made me feel like it made me feel better about their arrangement. And then he actually is really funny.
Yeah, I'm a fan, you guys. I don't know. I can't explain it to you. And Tanya for making me laugh. First of all, I love Timu. Second of all, Can We Pass on Timu, Ken and Barbie is hilarious.
He actually reminds me of this character from a Nickelodeon show, Lazy Town.
Oh, I don't know it, but Tanya and Joslo are not having it with these 2. I don't know. We'll have to agree to disagree. Anyways, he's going to get his visa. It's the biggest day of my life. She corrects him and says our life, which I thought was hilarious. He's got his passport. I thought it was interesting because you have to have passport, evidence of their relationship, and then all the other paperwork that is required to get this visa.
Mm-hmm.
If you guys remember, they met on a dating app when Shekinah went to Turkey, and they met. She swiped and he swiped. They matched. It was rare to see an American on the app, he thought. And this little saying, he's terrible at saying just like me. I have no idea what it means, but it sounds great. When you eat big bites, don't say big words. If it finds you back, it finds you back.
I think our equivalent phrase would be, if you love something, let it go. And if it comes back to you, it's yours.
Joss will say, that's why I love your show. We can talk like this. Feels like sisters. Joss, we're already sisters. Some of the stuff that you all say in the comments.
Yes, Robbie Rotten. Sorry.
What do you say?
See, somebody reminded me what the character was from Lazy Town. Sorry. Yes, Joslo. Sorry, I interrupted.
Robbie Rotted? I don't know what that means, but here we are. So she's been visiting him for 2 years on and off. They're trying to get this K-1 visa. I do want April to jump in on that whole immigration process because I believe that that's true, right? Like when you get married and I don't know if it's just a K-1 visa or just married in general to an immigrant, you have to have proof. At least I know for America that you have to have proof that you guys live together. You have to have like bills, I guess. And I'm going
Mhm.
to say all this stuff, and then April's going to correct me with the
No,
correct
no,
stuff.
you're right. You're on a
What I know
roll. Go
is that
for it.
you have to have no bills together. You have to prove that you have a common address. You have to have proof of your relationship, and then proof in your relationship, they want to see pictures of you guys together, like long term for the duration of your relationship. They want to see that there is like joint bank accounts and money in those bank accounts. And then I believe you have to, like, if you're like the American, you have to like prove that you have enough money and like a job to support the person that you're like engaged or married to. Something like that. Go ahead,
Right,
April.
right.
Explain it.
Yeah, so what they call it, the phrase they use is bona fide. So either a bona fide relationship if it's a K visa, or a bona fide marriage if you're doing a spousal visa. So the examples that Linda gave are exactly correct. If you're doing a fiance visa, they're going to focus more on how often you communicate with each other and what you have in common, because obviously, like, you may not have joint financial interests when you're only fiancés, but they want to see how often are you guys on the phone? People will submit their WhatsApp transcripts or their call logs. They want to see, how do you spend your time together when you are visiting each other in person? They want to see, did you go to a museum together? You have a ticket for that. What was your itinerary? Did you go, or did you just sit in the house all the time? Um, Now, if you're doing the spousal visa, that's when they want to see joint bank accounts. They want to see beneficiaries listed on life insurance policies. They want to see emergency contacts on medical records change. They want to see bank accounts that are being used, not bank accounts that just have money sitting in them, but bank accounts that are regularly used that have both your names on them, a lease or a mortgage with both of your names on it. They want to see this kind of evidence of relationship. You can also do pictures, letters from friends and family. If you are going to do pictures, please, not sexual ones. You will be surprised the number of people who send me their intimate photos as their proof of relationship. Nobody wants that.
That's interesting, because you would think not sexual, but like you would think that you would want intimate photos to show that it's not just like a friendship, April.
No, absolutely not. I do not want pictures of you in bed in various states of undress, showing your taco meat. Not interested.
And and US CIS is not interested either.
No, they're not interested.
Copy.
They might ask you. They backed off of it in recent years. They used to always ask if you didn't have kids, if you plan to have kids.
Yeah.
But there have been a lot of people. There was a lot of backlash against that, because a lot of women were saying that question is embarrassing because either I can't have kids or what's wrong with me not wanting kids. So they've kind of backed off of that. But that was as kind of intimate as their questioning got. Because you're allowed to have an asexual relationship. You're allowed to have an asexual marriage.
Oh, that is a whole other topic. I'll have to get back to you on that. I'm already like stuck in all of this. Okay, is the show you're talking about? We're taking a pause, you guys. We're gonna take a little time out here. The show you're talking about, is it Lazy Town? Is that what
Yes.
you said? Okay, so Shakira is saying Lazy Town was my show as a kid. Look it up, and you'll never be able to look at Sarper the same way. Okay, you guys. I don't know what it is, but the live chat is popping over it. It's real actors and puppets. So is it like Big Bird and the People, Sesame Street? Is it like that?
You know what? I guess that's the closest thing to it, but they made the characters have really sharp hair and features. And so it came off as it was like a 2D show kind of, but you knew that it was real people, but they were not animated, but they were done up in such a way that they were kind of like boxy. You know what? Just
I'll have to
Google
look
it.
it up.
Just,
This
just
sounds
look at
wild.
Robbie Rotten Lazy Town.
It sounds ridiculous. Why do I want to live in Lazy Town? That's probably why I've never seen it. That sounds ridiculous. So is everyone lazy
I was
here?
not I was not a huge fan of the show, but my kid was, so that's how I remember it.
All right, we're moving on. Stevie and Maddie. Now, I just want to. Let April go first. What are your thoughts on them overall so
Um,
far?
my first thought when I was listening it is like, why is this Iranian dude named Maddie? Because she kept saying Maddie, and then I looked at it and I'm like, oh, his name's Mahdi. Why can't she say his name?
Yeah, I wrote it down as Maddie first, and then I thought it was Maddie, and then when they actually put it on as Maudie, I was like, okay. But she's also from Mississippi. She's a Southern girl, so she throw on that Southern accent, perhaps.
I'm Southern. I can say Mahdi.
Okay, well then it's not that. I don't know then.
But obviously he's okay with it because I'm sure she doesn't change it up when she speaks to him and calls his name. So he's okay with being called Maddie. Um, he's okay with it. That's fine. But in general, what do I think about their relationship? I think it's cool the way that they met, the way that she describes him as being so prepared for class. And she finished her course with him before there was ever any kind of romantic interest. If it had been a thing while she was his teacher, I would have been a little bit icked out by it.
I'm so glad you went first. And you guys know how I am, and I'm sorry, I'm just not going to change. But okay, so first of all, the caveat is I have concerns that they're in Mississippi. I have concerns of the history of America and the fact that this is Mississippi and Stevie is 37 and Mahdi is 27 from Tehran, Iran. I have concerns about their age difference. I have concerns about their cultural differences. I have concerns that they're going to be in Mississippi.
Hmm.
Stevie is 37. She's a painter, single mom of 2 kids. I have concerns that we never even got to see or hear these 2 kids. It looks to me like she's living like a single alone life in her apartment, but apparently she's a single mom of 2 kids. Where are these kids? Are they living with the dad? You should say something because you shouldn't, in my opinion, bring up that you have 2 kids and then the 2 kids are nowhere to be found and there's no disclaimer on that. Don't claim momhood and not be a mom, in my personal opinion. So being a painter and a creator, and I'm all for creative life. You guys know me, I'm a creator myself. That doesn't pay the bills. So she teaches English online. She has students from all across the world. And Madi ends up being one of her students. And the first thing we find out about him that I knew that she had an interest in him is that she's like, oh, I was intimidated by him. He was so good looking. He was so well prepared. Yeah, he was doing all those things because he also wanted to get your attention, which obviously he did. We find out that he's shirtless on his social medias. One of the things that I couldn't wrap my mind around is how did you get from student teacher to him sending you his socials, and his socials are him with his shirt off the whole time, but he's still your student. Like, how did you cross over? You say that he finished your course and it wasn't until after he finished your course that you guys became interested in each other. Whatever, potato potato. You guys decide to meet in real life. She can't come over to Iran because, again, there were a lot of stereotypes for an English teacher who should know better because you're a teacher and you're teaching the future generation, as well as you're teaching international students abroad. The stereotypes about Iran were outrageous to me. I feel like read a book. You have an opportunity, teacher, to teach America the true story. So instead of giving all of the stereotypes about Iran out to the international market, you should have done a little bit of homework yourself, and you had the opportunity to talk about what Iran is really like. But that being said, you're like, Iran and the US are always, they hate each other, the nations don't get along, there might be another war, and Iranians are terrorists, and your dad is a racist, and he's, instead of saying racist, you said he's like a true American, which is just other words for saying he's a racist, and you live in Mississippi, and I'm not impressed with this. But they met in Turkey. I digress. Let me get back to what I'm saying. But the foundation is there, you guys. So they meet in real life in Turkey. She's not going to Iran because she says it's not safe for her to travel there. So they decided they're going to meet in Turkey. One of the questions I do have for April is why he wouldn't be able to, like the whole visa thing. I'm really interested in about what that travel visa looks like. so many countries can't get a travel visa to the United States very easily. And I want to know why. So, April, that's my question to you. Keep that in the back of your mind.
Mhm.
So they meet in Turkey for a week. And after that week, he proposed to her, which, again, I don't think you guys are setting yourself up for success. So let me get this straight. Let me get this straight before I move on. You guys didn't even meet in your mutual countries. You were both on vacay. You met in real life for a week and then you got engaged. You waited 1 year and filed for the K1 visa. It took 1 year. His visa got approved, and then he's going to come to America. And you keep saying that once he comes, he's not going to ever be able to go back to Iran. I need to know why. I need to know why you would make such a huge life. If I met you a week ago, we spent 7 days together. What I'm not about to do is pick up my life and move to wherever you are with no guarantees that I can't come back and live my life if it doesn't work out. Sounds ridiculous to me, but here we are. I need to know, A, why travel visas, April, are so hard to get from many countries. And I need to know if what she's saying is true, that once he has his K1 visa, he's approved, he leaves Iran, he won't be able to come back to Iran after he leaves. Okay, go before I move on.
Okay. So somewhere in there, I think you asked why she couldn't go to Iran, or I don't know if you actually said that, but I wrote the answer down, so I'm going to say it. The U.S. currently has a do not travel advisory to Iran, and what that means is if you have some trouble when you're in Iran, that the U.S. embassy will not come to your aid. The U.S. government will not come to your aid. That's what a do not travel advisory means, that we do not have consular services there that would be able to assist you.
That part, can you, and sorry to April cut you up, but I really guys need you to understand this, because we're not here also to entertain you. You're here to educate you, because learning new things is always important. And I want to make clear what April is saying. For you Americans, anytime you travel, there is an American embassy in that country, in that city, for your protections, that ever you lose your passport, you get in trouble, you commit a crime or whatever, you have somewhere to go. What April is saying, and what Madi has already said as well in this episode, is there's no American embassy in Iran. So if you go as an American citizen, you're on your own.
Mhm.
There is no help if you will have to need it. Okay, next.
No help coming. As far as why he can't return to Iran, he can return to Iran, but there is a risk that he might face some potential persecution, torture, questioning about his intentions in traveling to the United States. Any, potential that he is coming back as an advocate for American policies or ways against the Islamic regime of Iran.
Oh, wow.
So it's not that he would be blocked from entry, it's that he would be taking that risk that he might be detained on return.
Got it. Now, can we also the third question I did have is, why is it so hard for some countries to get American travel visas?
Mhm. The US government has taken the position that some countries will be punished for the sins of their government, and some countries will be punished for their religion or the majority religion of their country. And so, depending on who is in charge of the Department of State, they will increase or decrease the ability for certain countries to obtain visas as a political maneuver.
Ah,
Outside of it being a political maneuver, it's just hard to get a US visa from some countries because you have to prove that you have a certain amount of income, that you have travel history, that you have ties to your own home country. And if you're from a place where you already have limited educational and employment opportunities, it's just really hard to prove that your plan is to travel to the US and visit and return to your country. Because even if I was born in Tunisia, like let's say I love my country, right? And I'm going to come back to it. But if I didn't have the chance to go to school and obtain a degree and have a good employment, if I just work and I'm happy to work in a hotel as a housekeeper, they don't consider that a stable enough, income and employment that would compel me to return to my home country.
That's really interesting. Tanya has a question for you as well. So, since they hooked up in Turkey, can't he meet his family there or another mutual location that's near the area?
Yeah, there's nothing that would have stopped her from making another trip to Turkey to meet his family. In that year that they were waiting for the K visa to be approved, there's nothing that would have stopped them. They could have met. So the countries that Iranians are allowed to go to for US consular services are Turkey, UAE, and Armenia. So they could have met in any of those three countries. He could have had his interview in any of those three countries. They just, for some reason, didn't.
I think her question to you, April, is after he comes to America and he's saying that he can't go back to Iran, can't he have his family meet him and Stevie in Turkey or a similar
Oh,
country?
I see what you're saying. Yes.
Mhm.
So you're saying like after he gets his residency,
Right.
she could then meet his family. Absolutely.
Yeah. And then Tanya has a follow-up question. Would his family be subjected to the same kind of questioning once they returned?
I can't speak for the Islamic Republic, but I think if they stayed in the countries they're allowed to travel to and not come to the US, they'd probably be fine.
To not get political here, but the current U.S. Government system, I found it interesting, and this is just a side note, not getting political, just a side note, that this new immigration policy where if you pay $5 million, you get this gold ticket, which is a special residency to America. $5 million? That's it. That's all. That's
It
it.
doesn't really make any sense to me. Anybody who has that kind of money and wanted to be a resident of the US could already do it.
$5 million. Oh yeah, I want to be. Anyways, let me that just putting that $5 million. Do you know that eggs are like $18? Do you know that if you want to get an avocado now, go and look at avocado prices? And you guys know that I love strawberries, and I freak out when it's like 6 ounces is $12. I'm just saying, $5 million. I am nickel and diming. I went to a drugstore recently and I was shocked that I got, you guys, here's a little hint. I took part in the February 28th blackout, so I've been finding smaller locations to buy some of my goods and services. And I went to this drugstore, and I'm not going to name it right now because I don't want to get into all of that. But toilet paper for a 12 pack, good toilet paper, not just like a one ply, like the good kind, $5.
Oh wow, that's a
I was
steal.
like, and they were having a sale. So you buy one for $5 and you get one for 50% off. So you're getting 24 great rolls of toilet paper for $7.50. Now you would
Nice.
think that I had a family of a million the way I went out on this toilet paper. It was like pandemic situation. You know how people are hoarding toilet paper? That was me. I bought enough to last me for a good long time.
I mean, that's a good deal. I would be excited on that too.
So that being said, Tanya said thank you. She was going to ask about this gold card as well. I don't know the particulars. I just think $5 million buying you into a country can never really be a good thing. And who are those people that have $5 million that are going to do that? It's a question, April.
Oligarchs.
Yep, that part. So back to Stevie. Her dad doesn't know about Madi. Her dad's name is Perry. And she says her dad is an American. And, I don't know, but assumes that all Iranians are terrorists. And I just hated everything about that comment. I just think it's racist, and it is seated in ignorance and people who have not traveled or left Mississippi. That's how I feel. And
I
that's
don't even understand where this stereotype came from. Literally watching this show is the first time I've heard this. I have been American all my life, and I've never been around a group of people who are like, yeah, all Iranians are I've never heard this before.
I don't know. I'm not American, so that's on you, April. You and all of y'all.
And I've been in some pretty rough environments as far as racism and sexism are concerned. Shoot, I worked in, a couple law firms in Georgia. Not the diverse
I don't
part.
know. Do you guys Americans, do you guys assume that Iranians are terrorists? Let us know in the comments.
Yeah,
This sounds
please tell me
ridiculous.
if I'm missing a part of America that I know nothing about. Listen, ever since I got on TikTok, I've been learning a lot more about the prejudices and perceptions that people have that I did not know existed. So if this is one of those, that's really interesting to me. If somebody had asked me what I thought about Iranians before I knew that this stereotype existed, I would have been like, they're a little bit divided on what they want to happen in their country right now. And that would have been it.
That's it. Agreed. But again, here we are. So Stevie's gonna go see her dad to fix her car, which I love. I love that like relationship where your dad is your biggest role model for what men should be like in your life. Great. The other part, here we are. She's gonna tell her dad for the first time about Mahdi, who's coming the next day, which I just think is like ignorance. You're not setting up your relationship for success. You're not setting up your partner for success because now you've thrown on your dad, who's already a small-minded town racist, all of this stuff, and he has to absorb it and be ready for the next day and then for the next 90 days. It doesn't make sense to me. Like, why would you do that? You've known this whole time. You know that your dad is the hardest person. You've told everyone else that it's easy to, but your dad, listen, y'all, racists need time to percolate and reflect on who they are as people. You can't throw stuff at them because
No.
they're gonna be 10 toes deep
Down. Yeah, he needs time to get all of his stupid questions out. You see how fast he hit her with stupid questions back to back to back to back? He needs more time to get that out of his system
and
before you confront him with Maddie. You guys have to think about not exposing your non-white partners to violence. This is violence she's about to expose him to in Hattiesburg, Mississippi. And if you're going to have them in a situation that is potentially adverse, do a better job at preparing the environment to receive them. I feel sorry for Maddie walking into this situation. I don't even feel comfortable in Hattiesburg, Mississippi.
Listen, all I put is Mississippi in all caps. That's all I needed to know. Dad has a lung disease. She's not sure like what that is going to look out to. And, our thoughts are with him, hopefully for a full recovery. That being said, she tells her dad that she met someone in Turkey who was from Iran. His first comments were, they hate Americans. Does he speak English? You're going to be his property. No way you're going to marry him. Then says, oh, okay, well, you met this person. Is it out of your system now? Are you over it? Because this can't be like a real thing.
He said, is he going to make you wear a jihad on your head?
Yep.
Because I watch TV. Mm-hmm. That was a whole phrase that I didn't make up any part of.
Mm-hmm. So explains to him that he's coming on a K-1 visa. They have to get married in 90 days. The dad just says, no, you're not. Didn't you just get out of a marriage? You're going to be his property. You won't be able to return. Okay. And then he says, we already talked about but that she's like, I want your blessings, and he's like, well, I don't know, I have to think about it. I want you to walk me down the aisle. He's like, I don't know that person. So all the excuses, and again, you're not setting up your partner for success. Shakira agrees with what we're saying and what April just said. Oh my God, I was just going to say the same thing. I'm tired of them putting their partners in these dangerous situations and acting like racism isn't real. That part, like, you guys, you already know you're dealing with a racist. You need to give them time. Popping all this stuff on them last minute and then expecting them to be a upstanding citizen is not going to happen.
No. Did you catch the irony between her dad saying, you're going to be his property, and I'm not sure if I'm going to give my approval for this marriage? So, like, he's not allowed to claim you as property, but I will retain my rights on you as property.
100%. We're moving on to Mark 58 from New Hampshire. You guys, I have so much to say about Mark, but I'm really not going to try to say too much. But just know that as a Black girl, I recognize game, and this is that. And whoa. So
I'm so happy for Mina. Okay, let's go.
Listen, game recognizing game. If you're going to be that guy, then you're going to be about that life. That's all I'm saying. So Mark 58 from New Hampshire. He was married for 19 years, got divorced. Before he met Mina, there was another Black girl that he dated while he was in the midst of his divorce. I guess it got serious because somehow, some way, prenup got mentioned. She freaked out. It ended. That being said, Mark is rich. Mark has a plane, a hangar, a house, a runway, all where he lives in New Hampshire. 2019, he went to Paris. He went into a restaurant, ran into someone who changed his life. That person was Mina. She's 35. They had an instant connection, a 2-year long distance relationship. After those 2 years, he proposed. 6 months later, she became pregnant. She had a baby. That baby's name is Maria. So he has a daughter with her now, and he went over. He was in the delivery room, all of that stuff. But meanwhile, from his previous 19-year marriage, he has a son and a daughter. He has a daughter named Jordan, who's 27 years old, who lives in West Palm Beach, Florida. That should tell you all you need to know about her. And diversity, and now having a blended family, that, you know what, someone that looks like me is going to be a part of your family. Oh, guess what? She has questions. I'm not surprised, West Palm Beach, Florida, Jordan. Not surprised. Family is skeptical. They want to now put in all these stereotypes that Mina is trying to have an anchor baby. She's trying to come to America for a green card. Her intentions are not pure. She's there for Mark's money. And I want you guys to put all of those stereotypes aside and also look at Mark's track record in who he married and now who he's dating now that he, is of a retirement age. Because all those things are important. And what does get minimized a lot of the time is that oftentimes other men fetishize Black women and they sexualize them. They want to possess them. They want to own them from the colonial days. And you hear, or you're pretty for a Black girl, or you're this or you're that, or they fall super under. There are a lot of things happening here. So I want you guys to juxtapose those two stereotypes, because oftentimes y'all don't know what we're dealing with, but you want to call us gold diggers and friggin' anchor baby wanters and green card wanters, and our intentions are pure. But let me tell you, some of those men, their intentions are not pure either. I digress. Jordan, the daughter, and Jack, the brother, went to Paris to meet baby Maria for the first time and for the baptism. And Jordan obviously wasn't impressed because Mina was 3 hours late. And the thing is, you guys, I don't know if you guys know anything about Europe, but it's 100% not like America. They are not on a timeline. Being 3 hours late for a social function really is nothing, because it's really about socializing. It's not about being on a time frame. And they rather socialize, eat, drink, and be merry than talk about, 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock, 9 to 6, Monday to Friday. It's none of you guys. friggin' travel. I keep telling you that travel and understand when you travel, you're not on your American time frame. Because your American time frame, I'll tell you what, only in America, you don't have like months off for your vacation. Some of you guys don't even get paid time off of work. You work 24/7, 365 days a year, and you don't get time off. The Euros, they don't work that way. And Parisian specifically, I'll tell you what, I'll tell you something, and this is a true statement, okay? You can go to a store and it be 12 o'clock in the afternoon and the store is closed. All of the employees are in the store, but they're in back having croissants and some wine. And they're going to take their full break. And if that break means an hour, 2 hours, or 3 hours, no one's on the time frame. That's what they're going to do. And they will reopen when they feel like it. They will serve you when they feel like it. Go to Paris and actually understand the culture before you talk bullshit and say that Mina, as a Black woman, was three hours late for her the baptism of the baby. Clearly, you've never been to Paris. That would not be surprising to me.
Yeah, that wouldn't be surprising to me either. I had this problem. I actually don't think it's just Europe. I think it's just outside of the US. Because when I lived in Mexico, I had this problem where I would start showing up to places late because I knew it wasn't going to start on time, but I still would not be late enough. Like there was an internal clock that was working against me saying like, oh, it starts at 4, I'll get there at 4:30. And then people would still not show up until about, I could never get there late enough to have what I called back then the proper Mexican arrival time.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, know your audience, know where you are, know your environment. Just don't take everything from an American perspective. And then
I don't, and I also found it a little bit insane for the daughter to say that she's trying to get a green card. She's French. What's she care about a green card?
The stereotypes are out there for real. So, Jordan feels less of a priority, and that's where she should have started. So she is feeling some type of jealousy, some type of insecurity, because now it was just her and her dad with the ex-mom, and now the dad's bringing in a new potential wife with new children and wanting to actually bring a second child into place, and Jordan is losing her mind. And all I thought about was her thinking about generational wealth and inheritance, and now having to split it instead of her and her brother with these two biracial babies that she is not feeling. That's what it's about, really. So she goes on to say that she wanted Mina to make more of a effort to develop relationships with the family, and she started planting in her dad's head seeds of doubt of Mina, when really, in my opinion, Jordan is coming from a place of fear and insecurity. And also, money talks, y'all. It's all about the wealth. She's not trying to share that wealth. I watch enough true crime. There are some of you kids are killing off your parents so that you can get that wealth first before they die. And then you get caught, and it makes no sense. But that was the vibe I was getting from her. She was like, I don't want anyone else to be in on my territory. I should be your only daughter. I should be your only inheritee. Me and my brother are your two children. Now you're bringing in these half siblings who are, babies. You're 27. You're going to be 27 years older than your youngest sibling. And you're having a problem with that. Say that, because I would appreciate that and respect that more than all of this rhetoric that you have.
I think she could be even more direct. She could ask for exactly what she wants. She could say, hey, okay, look, you're having more kids. You're getting older. I just want to be very straightforward. I would like the house to be left to me. Or I would like whatever it is that she wants, like the certain car, whatever. Just be very direct. And instead of asking him to have a prenup, ask him to make a will. Yeah. Ask him to make a will, leaving specifically what it is that you want to you, and then let him live his life. Mark comes off like an actual nice person. He's one of the nicer older men in the May summer relationships, or whatever you call them. And he seems like he's very excited to be a father of young kids all over again. So let your dad be happy, let him live his life, and just ask him directly for whatever it is that you want.
Yeah, I agree with that. So Mark tells her that he's thinking about having another baby. Jordan freaks out, thinks it would be devastating. It will change the family dynamic. She's not ready to accept it. She's hesitant about another child because she was hesitant about the first child. Jordan also thinks that uh, this having another baby is Mina's way of separating the family. She wants to come to the US and wants the dad to pay for everything. And when she said that she's going to have a serious conversation with Mina, I was like, you're going to need to F all the way off.
Completely.
You are not in this relationship.
You're not.
And all the things you're saying are for selfish reasons. And then when you tell your dad to get a prenup, okay, I mean, rich people, I get it, get a prenup. But at the same time, as a child, because you still are the child, 27 or not, that's not your place or position. Because at the end of the day, you're not trying to protect your dad's interests. You're trying to protect your own interests.
Mm-hmm. And all that talk she did about Mina's motivations, she didn't say a single word about spending time with her own sister.
Facts. That part. We're
So
moving
what
on
about
to
your motivations? Okay, yes, moving
right. Fine. What effort are you making?
on.
Like
Mhm.
you're saying that Mina's not making any effort to get to know you, but you already have a shitty ass attitude and all these preconceived notions about who she is as a person, and you're surprised why she's not making a bigger effort. Stop it. Stop playing with me. Season 11, episode 2, Love at First Sight. We continue on with Maudie, 27, and Stevie, 37. One of the things I think is interesting, TLC and Sharp Entertainment, is like your editing. I'm going to need you guys to pay a little bit more attention. I'm not an editor, but I am a writer. And like Maudie's 26 in one episode, and he's 27 in an episode. Stevie's 36 in episode 37. Yes, it could be the time frame of when you film this, but go ahead and explain it, because people who pay attention to details are like, that's why like Natalie has been 39 for like the last 5 years, because y'all. We find out a lot of stuff about Stevie this episode. She has a lot of quirks. She gets sick when she drives over bridges. She doesn't like to wear pants in her house. She's OCD. She has night terrors. She likes to take naps in the middle of the day. She falls asleep while eating, etc., etc., etc. She's concerned, as she should be, that her fiance that she's only met in real life for 1 week is going to have some issues living with her, knowing that she has all these quirks. Besides the quirks, you have only seen this person for 1 week, and neither of you were in your local country. So yeah, I would be concerned too.
Mm-hmm.
They only spent 1 week together in real life. My question, I guess I put this down to April. What is that going to translate to in the United States, in your opinion? He arrives, and then what?
In an area where they are, I think one of the things that you would struggle with as an immigrant is, how do I get around independently? Right? Because you can't drive yet. You don't have a driver's license. So if she's off working, what is he going to do? There's nothing he can walk to out there.
I'm just worried about all of it, to be honest. I'm worried about all of it.
Yeah. And will he find some community? Like when I was dating someone who was an immigrant, I looked up in DC, like, what restaurants do we have that serve that kind of food? Do we have a community group that meets the library that will, allow them to speak their language to other people? Because it's exhausting to speak a second language all the time. And I just feel like if you're in an area like Hattiesburg, Mississippi, you know what? Maybe somebody from Hattiesburg is in the chat. Maybe I'm wrong in my perceptions of Hattiesburg, even though y'all just freed your slaves like 10 years ago. But
yeah, you're not wrong. I've never been there, but I'm going to tell you, you're not wrong, April. And if I'm wrong, y'all, and y'all from Mississippi, and it's different in where,
and you can let us know.
Let us know, because
do you remember Linda? I taught you how to spell Mississippi.
MISSISSIPPI, but I don't know. There's some type of song. No, I don't remember, but I do know how to spell it.
M-I, crooked letter, I, crooked letter, I, humpback, I.
That part. I loved it. Didn't remember it, but it's still great to this day.
So
So you're
yeah, and he's also going to be concerned about his family. That's going to be constantly and ever present on his mind.
agreed. So after spending that week together, he's gonna arrive. He arrives in America. They embrace. She has a little bit of like I don't know, like a freak out. She feels overwhelmed. She's having a little bit of a panic attack. She needs to sit down. That whole thing happens. I wrote it down. I'm not going to get into it because I had a pre-conversation with April, and I feel like this is something I shouldn't rant over. But I will say that if you know your history, and I won't say that I'm a history buff, but I definitely like facts and I like to research stuff. And I think you guys know that by now. And so when Mahdi talks about calling himself Persian versus Iranian because it's like a softer blow and it sounds better, I really want you guys to like go ahead and do your research when Persia was and if Persia still exists, and therefore do Persians exist, and just embracing who you are as a person and not minimizing because you're trying to make other people feel better. That's all I'm going to say about it. I feel like that is much better than what I said to you, April, on the phone.
I want to add something to it. Something that I deal with in my work is that what matters for us in terms of applying for asylum, because that's where it comes up, is the country where you were born. Okay, that's what matters for us. So it wouldn't matter if you describe yourself as Persian or not. What matters is where you were born. And I guess I'll just leave it at that too. Should we leave it at that? Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
I wanted to say something, but you're right. I'll leave it. Okay, so Mahdi says he's happy. Stevie reminds him of family, of home, of friendship, of his wife, and the sign. He really loves it. And I don't know about y'all, but it was a little alarming to me, and maybe it got lost in translation. But the sign said, welcome home, Mahdi, and then it had an M at the end of it. And he explains that in his traditions, putting an M after the name means you belong to that person. And I was just like, oh, that sounds terrible.
I always thought it was June. I always thought the term of endearment for Farsi was to add June at the end, like Linda June, Abby June. But obviously it's not my language. He said that he liked it. It made him feel good. So
yeah, I just had not heard that before. So adding the M, any Persians out there who want to enlighten us about the M situation, please feel free. He says, he goes on to say that his parents are not feeling good about him leaving. I mean, I wouldn't either. You met this woman in Turkey for 1 week. You proposed. I don't know where the ring came from, because did you bring the ring anticipating in that week that you were going to get along and therefore propose to her?
I mean, they do sell rings on every corner in Istanbul, if that's where they were, though. They didn't say it was a real diamond.
He gets to America, talks about how there's no dress code in America. It's fascinating to him, and he's specifically speaking of women not being covered up and women wearing shorts and tank tops and all of that. I don't know about y'all, but that was going to be a red flag for their relationship, where they've only spent a week together, and he is already pointing out these type of things. He, in his own words, is not sure he's done the right things, not sure he's made the right choice to come to the U.S. And he wants to ask Stevie that if he decides to go back to Iran, what does that look like for him? And we already talked about this, so I'm going to pass over it. There's no embassy in Iran, therefore, like, going back and forth. That's why it's...
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend that to her if I was a friend of hers, just because there's no protection for her there. Not because I think that it's a bad place or that there's bad people. but that if there was an emergency situation, even just an evacuation, there would be no help from the U.S. government to assist her.
That part. We're gonna keep it pushing because we got to get through all these couples. I'm gonna try again. Sorry, Shekinah
Perfect. You got it.
and Sarper. Sarper pretends that he got denied the visa. He put on his best acting face, and then he said he's just joking. He got approved. He said the 3 best things in life are peeing, orgasms, and the K1 visa. I laughed my face off again. I was like, who is this new improved Sarper? He also joked that he told the immigration officials that his job was a professional narcissist, died, because if you remember him from last season, that would be hilarious right now to you. Now that he has been approved for the K1 visa, he has to tell his family that he's leaving as an only child, as an immigrant, you guys. I can definitely relate to this, not as an only child, but just as an immigrant. His parents are getting older. Immigrant families, the children always take care of the parents as they get older. That is just part of our tradition. That's just how it is. You see multi-generational family homes all the time. You rarely see immigrants put their elderly parents in like homes and such.
His parents look really good for their age.
Wow, I know. I was gonna get there, April. They look young and like
they
vibrant.
Do.
I thought they were gonna be much older because he's 45, so I thought like they're gonna maybe be in their 80s. They look like they're in their 60s. I don't know.
I thought they were pretty young and spry too myself, but he gave me the idea that they're like feeble.
That's what I thought too. And then when I met them, I was like, they're gonna be fine. Mom is like giving side eye and doing all the things, so she'll be just fine. Mm-hmm. So we meet Sakran, the dad, and Serpil, the mom, and yeah, they look young. Like April said, I was like, the mom looks great, dad looks great. They look fine. So this old feeble situation that Sarper was trying to portray, I don't know if that's necessarily true. Fuson, the cousin, all the families there, they're having a meal together. And you know, Sarper is really drilling in on who's going to take care of them and who's going to provide for them because he's the only child and he's the light of their life. They're doing just fine, Sarper. Your family is extended and it seems like they're very close. It seems like they're very happy and they seem young enough. So they're taking care of themselves. So I think they'll be just fine. So Sarper explains that he went on his interview. He was approved for the K1 visa and he's going to be leaving soon. The parents are worried that he's going to be so far away. And he's like, don't worry, you know, just think of it as me being away for 3 months and things are on pause. It doesn't mean I'm going to be away forever. He then is worried about a wedding and his parents not being able to come because they're not going to be able to get a travel visa. And April, can you also explain that? Because I thought Turkey was the place where you could get a travel visa.
They could apply. I think that he doesn't think they'd be approved, but they could definitely apply. What I was curious about is why wouldn't they just get married? If he really wants his family to be able to participate in the wedding, and we know Shekinah doesn't really have any family. She has a sister. Her sister could come to Turkey, but it seems like it would be more reasonable to just get married in Turkey and then do the marriage visa as opposed to doing the K1 and then his family not being able, because he has the larger family. Yeah. His family not being able to participate in the wedding. But regardless of what they chose, Sarper does something that's really smart here. He refuses to give an exact time frame on when he will be able to come back. And that's really smart of him.
Agreed. I love the mom side-eyeing Shekinah, saying that, you know, you're stealing him from us. I was like, oh, your mom's bringing her straight A game. Love it. Okay, y'all. Is this the picture of them? Because I have.
Are we ready for? Yes.
Oh, no. Okay, no, we already talked about them, but that's not who I wanted. I don't think I have a picture of him.
You want June and Gregory, right?
Yes, girl. Yes. Okay, so just FYI, I forgot to put their pictures up. If you wanted to see pictures of what is it, Mark
So that's
and
Mark and Mina. Mark is 58 and Mina is 35, and she is coming in from France, and they have one child together already.
that's who this is.
Mhm.
Anyways, we're gonna talk about Greg.
Yes. Lucille is my new favorite mom
Is she? Why?
because I enjoyed the very direct conversation. Is she doing a little bit more of the cleanup that he should be doing for himself? Yes. However, the very direct and frank conversations they're having with each other, I love it. I love it, Lucille. I expect nothing more from a Long Island Italian mom.
I love that you went first.
And I also liked when she said, I'd like to observe um, how she talks to you and how she treats you, because that's the same way I feel about my son in relationships. I just want to know, are they being nice to you? Are they being kind to you? How do they talk to you? How do they treat you? Linda hates everything about it. We're back to being disagreeable like we used to be. What
I
happened?
mean,
Tell me.
I'm going to tell you right now. First of all, Greg is 35 years old. He is an Italian American that should be on his own 2 feet as far as I'm concerned. I don't think that he ever left that house. I think he's been living with his mama his whole life, which, granted is fine because a lot of immigrant families, you don't move out of the house until you get married. But I kind of feel like that's not what's going on here. So Greg is a baker, I think. And okay, so I'm just going to tell you, I think what happened, you guys, is that he turned me off from the very beginning. And I'm going to tell you why. So he's a baker and he's baking. And I was like, oh, this is great. I love, because, I love the great British Bake Off and all that stuff. Like, I love all that bakery HGTV stuff as well. But he's baking. He has his gloves on. Great. That's great. Y'all already know how I am. Jocelyn said I might be fragile. Whatever it is, I get grossed out easily. He throws the dough up. The dough hits his forehead, you guys. And he flicks off the dough back into the regular dough and keeps kneading it like that shit didn't just hit his face. Nasty. And then going around delivering this dough to your neighbors without the gloves on. You're just putting your hands on and just why are you like this? This is why you can't eat at anyone's house. Like, why are you all why?
Yeah, he clearly does not care much about his hygiene, especially if mom is still washing his clothes and cleaning his bathroom.
Oh my God, shaking my damn head. That's what my note says. So he lives at home with his mom, Italian American, loves Italians and all of that, but this is just not very representative of anything, in my opinion. He doesn't pay rent. I need to know the backstory on that because even when he wants Joan to come over, he is planning to live with his mom for another 1 to 2 years. So, like, tell me what happened. Is it a product of the pandemic, the high inflation, you lost your business, whatever? I know all of those things are possible. I just need to know what the backstory is, that you're just not like lazy and living at your mom's house your entire life because your mom does everything for you. And when I say does everything for him, Lucille does everything. She cooks for him. She cleans for him. She cleans his bathroom. She does his laundry. She cleans his room. She makes his meals. She lets him live rent-free in the house. So like it's her child, like down to the point where they were having dinner, y'all, and he didn't have any carrots on his plate. So she took her fork as if she was feeding her newborn baby and fed it to him into his mouth. And he's 35.
One time, my son was standing in front of me, and I noticed that he had a bunch of tartar on his bottom teeth, and I just scratched it off with my finger. And both of us, we were like, now, why would we do that? Why would we both participate in that?
Yep, that part. Tanya says Greg is Colty 2.0. Run, June, run. I think it's Joan though, but I got your point. So he used to be 480 pounds. The only reason I'm saying this is I think that he's going to make his weight loss journey part of our journey. So that's why I'm reiterating what he said. From 2017 to 2019, he lost 200 pounds. And he really wants to own a bakery. That's his goal. So in the meantime, he makes bread and delivers it to his neighbors without gloves. And it's just like a Tupperware
with no top
bucket thing with no top, running around the neighborhood, just sticking his dirty hands in and giving people bread, and they enjoy it. So clearly it's something going on in New Jersey, Long Island, or wherever he is that I'm just not appreciative of. He was on some flight, got sidetracked, fell asleep on a guy on a plane, and I'll tell you this, I travel a lot. If some fool shoulders on me, hello, wake up, get off of me. But Ugandans are kind people. The man let this guy fall. You know when you catch yourself in mid-thought and the Lord strikes you down and says, don't you let that come out of your mouth. That just happened to me. So they talked for hours on the plane. The guy invited him to Uganda. He stayed at the guy's guest house. That's where he met Joan. They connected, but that was all that happened. And then a year and a half later, she friend requested him on some social media platform, and they hit it off. They were instantly connected. He went back to Uganda and proposed to her on her birthday, and that is their love story. Meanwhile, he lives at home. I said that already because very important. And he plans to live with his mom for the next year or year and a half. He made I was surprised at Long Island. He was like, if you want to buy a house, it's like $400,000. I don't know where you live, but you are not getting a home where I live for $400,000 at all. So count your blessings, Greg. If that seems outrageous to you, then.
Well, nobody's said he has to stay in Long Island. So when I was looking at that, or when I was listening to him say that, he could just move somewhere else. He doesn't have to, if he can't afford it. That's the reason why I haven't tried to buy anything here in DC. Why would I do that when I could just buy in Georgia where I'm from? The prices here are outrageous. You can move. You're not a tree.
But I don't think that's the case. I think that he has gotten used to his mom being his caretaker. Because
I think that's true too. Because when you were talking about earlier, like what's his backstory, I don't think that he said he never found his thing.
Yeah.
Right. A lot of us never found our thing. We just went to work at a thing that we didn't particularly care for.
That and I just think that there's more to the story. I'll say there's more to the story, you guys, and him living at home is a crutch to his behavior. And I'm telling you this on watching episode 2, but I just am really good at reading people, you guys, and I'm gonna stand 10 toes down.
Look at her, she got it
in this. And say that there's more to this. So does his laundry, babies him, cooks for him, cleans his bathroom, feeds him like a baby, all of those things. Why would he be motivated to do anything else? The mom also goes on to say that Greg's naive in relationships. She made it seem like he's never been in a relationship, and Jonas's first relationship. So that's going to play a part of this. Mom wants to consider separate rooms when Joan gets there until they're married. She's old school. That totally made sense to me. I guess that she was coming from a pure place because she, they talked about sex and relationships and all that. She doesn't want to hear all of that. Yeah, I get it. Then my note says, what is his job? So when April just talked about he never found what his thing is, part of that is just doing too much. What are you doing? So I know you guys are going to say, okay, let me just think about what I'm about to say. I'll just say it like this. What is your job? So you want to be a baker and you want a bakery. Is that your dream and your vision? Because also, is that not paying your bills? Because now I find out he's a plumber, and I'm like, is he a plumber or is he a baker? Because having a trade and being a plumber, you could easily get that $400,000 house because those trades pay very well.
They
So are
do.
you an actual certified plumber, but you're saying that you only do plumbing for your friends and family? Like, are you not making wise choices in your life? Like, so what are you doing? Are you a baker or are you a plumber? And if you have the skills to be a plumber, then go ahead and get certified and be a plumber, and you can move out of your mom's house in a year, guaranteed. A lot of these plumbers, these electricians, you guys, that you want to side eye, they're millionaires now because there are not enough of them because no one is learning a trade. So, like, what is it? I'm very curious. That being said, Joan, the Ugandan, is very highly educated. And he even says that she's taking a step back for coming to America. And I've talked about this. A lot of people talk about America, the land of the free and like the dreams and all that stuff. But a lot of people aren't living that life. They're working 24/7 and paycheck to paycheck and all the things. And it's not necessarily the best for them. And when immigrants come and they have multiple degrees, even PhDs, and those degrees are not recognized, so they do have to take a lower level job. That's what he means by having to take a step back, because she has like multiple degrees. She owns a nonprofit organization. She's all the stuff in Uganda. So coming to America, living with Greg and his mom in Long Island, and he has no clear direction in his life. I don't know. We'll see what happens. He has clearly finances an issue. So we'll see what happens. April, do you want to add to that before I move on?
Yeah, just one thing. If you are an immigrant in this situation, you do need to be concerned, because if your petitioner needs someone else to sponsor you financially, the sponsor can withdraw, and then you would be stuck in the United States with no way to get your petition filed because your petitioner, your spouse, doesn't make enough money to support you. So I'm not saying be a gold digger, but I am saying be conscientious of the environment that you're going into and whether or not that person has the resources to support you through the immigration process. And I say that because I've seen it happen. I've seen people arrive in the United States, their first petition maybe gets denied for whatever reason, they need to submit a second one, and then the sponsor's like, no, I don't want to participate anymore. And their spouse doesn't make enough money.
We're moving on to Mina, Maria, and Mark. Oh, I've just been not good at this. April, we're gonna swing back.
To that question?
No, let me see. Oh, we'll swing back to this at the end. So,
okay.
Mina, Maria, and Mark. Mark, last minute, as per usual with a lot of guys, is last minute day before his family arrives, baby previewing the house, even though Mina has been telling him to do it for months and months on end. They're arriving, and he's a pilot, y'all, so he's having her fly into a smaller little airport so that he can take his plane from his house, you guys, down his runway that he has and pick them up. And can y'all imagine flying directly home, not flying into the airport and then taking an Uber or getting picked up or a shuttle or whatever. No, you get picked up in a plane and the plane drops you off directly in front of your house. Stop.
I'm not interested.
What?
Are you? I'm not interested in that at all. I want all the regulations that come with using a full-sized airplane. I want the second pilot that comes with a full-size airplane. Okay, I want the flight attendants that come with a full-size airplane.
Fly me to my house and I just get out. Honey, you got my bags? Great. Boom, I'm at my house. I have no problem with that. Lord, if that is in my future, I have no problem with that.
No. No. Good for her that she got what she wanted. And I hope you get what you want too. I will be at JFK.
Listen, fly me to my house, y'all. That is all I'm saying. What do you guys think? Live chat, replay. If you met someone who was a pilot that literally had a runway at their house and could literally drop you off at your front door, would you be down or would you not be down? Would you be at JFK, LAX, O'Hare International, Miami, wherever? Would you rather that commercial route or would you rather be dropped off like at your doorstep? Let us know in the comments in the live chat. That being said, we're over in Paris. Mina is getting ready to come to America. She says, and you know what? The translation, I'm sure Drake has his own jet lit. You know what? Joslo is on a roll. Joslo! Drake does have his own jet, Joslo. I haven't been on it yet, but I do have a friend in Toronto where Drake flew out a couple of his friends to LA on that private jet for their birthdays, put them up in a hotel. They had a great time. We met up with them, but I have not been on that jet. So Mighty Mini 428 says, I would love to be dropped off at my doorstep. Heck yeah, fly me anywhere. I want them game. Joslo is like, if it's a short flight, I'm down. Listen, y'all.
I'd have a panic attack the entire flight.
No. Drop me off at my house. Let me look at my runway in my driveway like, hey, babe, I kind of want to go to Vegas for the weekend. Can we make that happen? I digress. Mina, Paris. She's met many men who could give her everything she wants, treat her like a princess, but none of them could give her a family. That's why she fell for Mark. The translation is what I was going to talk about. So, you know, I told you earlier in the top of the show that my French, the inflections were getting criticized by a Quebecois, but I did learn what, like, because I'm watching and reading the subtitles, and the translation is not literal per se. So beaucoup beaucoup mon chéri is she loves him a lot. Beaucoup means a lot, but that's not what it translated to. So I thought that was very interesting. A lot of the translation is not literal. They're like it's like a recap. So keep that in the back of your mind, because I think a lot is going to get lost in translation. Joslo, you're Canadian? Is that a true statement? This whole time I didn't know that.
I don't know if she's Canadian or if she's just in Toronto.
Oh, I think maybe she's Canadian, like how you're Canadian. So the other thing we learn about Mina is that she has a son who is 9. His name is Clayton from a previous relationship. Now, here's where I'm like, what have y'all been doing for 2 years? So you knew that you put the K-1 visa process in the process. You knew you had a 9-year-old son. You knew he needed to renew his passport. His passport doesn't arrive in time. What were you doing for the last 2 years? Like, I just don't understand. That is poor preparation on someone's part, and it's not Clayton's fault. So now Clayton has to stay behind with her sister till his passport gets processed. And so Mark's concerned that they're going to have to start the K-1 visa process over. And that was my question to you, April. Why would they have to start the K-1 visa process over? I get that they have a specific time frame for K-1 visas, as she would have to fly over on it when she gets approved. However, I know how passport works. Why can't that kid get on a flight with a designated, her sister, or a designated adult, or even a flight attendant, and fly him over? Why does
on ESTA?
Right. Why would they have to start all over again?
Well, there's a couple of things that I think might be going on. Perhaps they specifically want him to come in on the K-2 because they want the benefit of him being able to immediately apply for a residency once they get married. Because that's the benefit. Like, because she could arrive on ESTA as well, right? But it's a shorter process if she arrives on a fiance visa, and then they can immediately apply for residency after they get married. So, because I was wondering myself, if she's French, she could come in on an ESTA, why come in on a K-1, right? And then the other thing that might be going on is the father or the other parent involved still has to consent. So if that child didn't consent to obtaining the passport in time and for that child to leave the country, maybe that's part of the holdup. And then the other thing that was on my mind is um, we don't know if her son is consider we she's French, she's coming from France, right? But France doesn't have birthright citizenship.
Mm.
So is there an issue concerning that with regard to him obtaining his passport? Because you guys, if you get really bored, um, search on YouTube stateless in France. It's very interesting because they don't have birthright citizenship. A lot of people end up in France stateless and have to jump through all kind of hoops to get any kind of identification whatsoever. So those are some of the things I was thinking about when they were telling the story of what was going on. Because they didn't, I couldn't get a grip on one thing that was happening. So those are just some things I made up that might be happening.
I'm not sure still. So let's see how it plays out. But Mina and Maria arrive in Boston. They've landed. They take their little Uber to Mark's private landing area. He's waiting there with his plane. He's been away from his daughter for 21 months. He feels like this is the greatest day ever. Meanwhile, Mina's having second thoughts about leaving Clayton with her sister. And anyways, they reunite. I love you, Mark. I love you. I love you. Everyone is happy. The family is complete.
So sorry, I never got around to what I was supposed to say, which is that the K visa is a single entry visa. And so what Mark was saying when he said we might have to start the process over is that if she leaves and they want the benefit that comes along with using the fiance visa, then they would have to start that process over again because it's a single entry visa.
But my question was, I wasn't even thinking of her leaving. I was saying, why cannot she? You guys, I've lost.
Why can't she have someone else fly with the child?
The child, yeah.
Well, we are operating under the assumption that everyone is French, and so they would be able to obtain an ESTA. But there's a possibility that they are French residents, which Mighty Manny 428 just said. There's a possibility they're French residents, but they're not French citizens. And so their citizenship could lie in a country that is not ESTA eligible, meaning that you could come into the United States without going through the full process of applying for a visa. And if that's the case, then no, somebody can't just jump on the plane and come with him once he obtains his new passport. And then I confused.
Go ahead. You confused.
Oh, what? I confused Joslo because she said, was she born in France? Was Clayton born in France? It doesn't matter. France doesn't have birthright citizenship. If you're born in France, but your parents are not French, you don't have French citizenship.
All right, so everyone, we're good on the questions, I hope. We're moving on to Jessica and Juan. Wyoming and Columbia, +3. They're 3 kids. Juan, first time being around kids, first time being a dad full-time, first time being a full-time stepdad. He, for whatever reason, thought that Jessica was going to put her 7- and 9-year-old and 5-month-old baby in a separate room.
Joke's on him.
So that he could have some privacy, some jiggy, because he hasn't seen her in a few months. I just died of laughter. I was like, that is the wildest assumption ever. He's not used to being around kids. We learned a little bit about him, that his dad passed when he was 8 years old. He had a good life, he thought, up until his dad passed. Then his life was hard. Not having a dad to teach him stuff, he had to learn everything on his own, which wants him to be a good father and stepfather, and be there for those children. They're checking into the hotel. He sees that there's no privacy. He is saying that this whole situation is very hectic because the kids have a lot of energy still, and I thought that was super funny because I was like, where did you think the kids were gonna go? Like, hello. On his way to the hotel, or their way to the hotel, he thought he saw some penguins in Wyoming, died of laughter. He's looking at the landscape and he's like, there's nothing there. You're in Wyoming. Welcome. And I literally put that as my note. Welcome to Wyoming. Population 6,119. Now it's 120. 6,000, y'all. I think there were 6,000 people in my high school. Smells like cow poop, he says. So they spend the night at the hotel. They wake up in the morning and they head over to the house. They get to the house, Christmas tree is up, and he's like, there's a lot of those messages on the walls. He thinks it's too much. Like, you know, peace, love, romance, eat, pray, love, welcome to our home. You know, all of those. Are you big on those signages?
No, I don't. I don't like having a bunch of positive affirmations around. I don't like having stuff around. I'm a minimalist. Nothing delights me more than a clean counter and clean wall.
Yeah, I don't do all that.
That looked overwhelming to me. Her house.
Yeah, I'm not into it either. No, not for me. But y'all already know how I am, so here we are. Finds out that their bedroom has no door, so again he's worried about privacy. And I was like, Juan, where are your priorities? I get it.
Where's her door?
I mean, yeah, where are the doors? He's worried because, like, what's gonna happen here? This open live-in situation. Back to Mark and Mina. Mina's complaining that the house is old. Listen, Mina, the house is old. It's beautiful, but he's been living a bachelor life for like way too long, and that's why it's looking like that. She's like, the house is big, but it feels lonely. We look at Jordan's old room and, you know, Jordan's name, because he just put the baby gate up the day before, so you're gonna have to put some work into it and make it your own. Do I think it was appropriate for him to have his ex-wife and family photos and such on the wall? He was married to her for 19 years. I think he's looking at it from the children's perspective and less about the ex-wife's perspective. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think you should feel disrespected. You know, who am I? Half in English, you guys, half in French. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
But she feels like the house seems stuck and the house needs to be updated because it's like a single bachelor pad. Yeah, it is, because that's what he's been doing, and you should feel happy that you have the ability to make it your own, right? Without erasing his history. I don't know. That's how I feel. I feel like I wouldn't feel threatened because, you know, 19 years he's married.
I wouldn't either, because it's not like he's updated other things in the house and then the pictures are still there. It's very clear that nothing has been updated.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I don't think there's any need to feel threatened or alarmed by this. I just think that you're going to use the next couple of months to get things set up and decorated the way that you want them.
That part. So chill out. I wanted to take it back to Stevie and Madi from Mississippi and bring up this photo that you sent and give you the opportunity to explain a little bit about the history of Iran, the history of what was going on and what was taking place here. Just because, you know, you guys, we want to entertain you, but we also want to educate you.
So the reason why I sent this to Linda was because Stevie made the comment that Iranians don't like Americans and they protest against us. And they showed footage from protest. And I thought that was very misleading, because the protests that were happening in 2022, which is where this picture is from, a protest that I attended with a friend of mine who invited me, were not against the US. This was Iranians protesting their own government. Now, they may not agree on exactly what they want to replace the current government, but they do agree that they want the current government out. And they were protesting the treatment of women. That's the one flag that has the bloody handprints on it. because around that time, many women were being forced to wear clothing to cover up, whereas before they were allowed to choose whether they wanted to cover up and wear a hijab or not. And then the sign that Zan Zaghari Azadi was because they were also protesting the treatment of LGBTQ people in Iran. So those protests that they showed photos of were not anti-American. They were anti the Islamic regime in Iran. And I wish they would have made that more clear. It's not a US versus America issue in that situation.
There you go. You guys, we have caught up on episodes 1 and 2 of season 11 of 90 Day Fiancé. We will be covering the full season. I'm already invested. The new episode 3, came out yesterday. We will be covering it next week. I want to say next week, but maybe you never know with April and I. We might just pop up. We're trying to catch up, y'all. We've missed you. I know you've missed us. Make sure to like and subscribe to 90 Day the Melanated Way, as well as you guys hook it up
Abby the
over at
Attorney.
Linda So Girly on Instagram. Follow April the Attorney. And I know she said it, but Abby.
Everybody say Abby. Those are your old heads here. It's a new name for you.
What is it
it's
though?
different.
Abby
Abby
what?
the Attorney.
No.
Abigail at Abigail Winters 80 is where you
that's
will
what it is.
find my YouTube and TikTok that have my personal stuff, not my work stuff. So here you can cook with me, you can hang out with me in DC, and I also do more travel here. So if you want to see my old trips to Antarctica, that's great. If you want to come along with me in the future, I'm headed to Uzbekistan. That'll be fun. I'll probably be going live from there because I love the architecture. So yeah, come hang out with me at Abby the Attorney.
April's never in one spot, so definitely follow her. It's quite the journey. We'll see you soon, you guys, with episode 3, as well as we're still covering The Last Resort. But I don't know about y'all. I haven't seen any new episodes. They're leaving us hanging. I'm not sure what's going on, but as soon as they come back, we'll be back with that as well. Definitely make sure to like and subscribe. Make sure to comment below. And oh Lord, see Joslo, this is how I know and remember that Joslo is Canadian, because it's that direct little snark that I have to appreciate. Thanks, guys. Heart and Canadian flag in case you forgot or you forget. Joslo. Oh, I love
See you
my
next
Canadian.
time.
Bye, guys. These little smart Alex. I love it. I just love it. It's like keeps me on my toes and makes me laugh. Oh, I'm still live. My bad.